Welcome the boys and the ghouls to the scariest space in the entire universe. The most chilling chamber this side of the Stanton system. The most deleterious dwelling in the back of the studio. You have unwittingly stepped into the EZ-Hab of Horror! Wow, scary. Now this week, we bring you 3 terrifying tales of video game development, certain to provide chills, thrills, and edutainment. There were going to be 4, but as it turns out, when you unleash the full and terrifying potential of the character customizer with the safeties turned off, the results proved to be too terrible for the internet. What? Your incredulousness, Pala, betrays the fact that you think Count Disco might be full of it. You do not believe me? Well, take a look at this!
What's going on?
Yeah! That was all we were legally allowed to show you. Let us never speak of this again. Moving along. If you're like me, and you often find yourself wandering through the graveyards in the dead of the evening, you must always be ready to defend yourself against the creatures of the night. But what if you left your garlic, your silver bullets, or your clawbuck and meaties back at the crypt? I know it's terrible. You have nothing to do but defend yourself with fisticuffs. Now that is where Richard Tyrer of the Actor Feature Team comes in, with an update to the melee combat in the Star Citizen universe. Igor! Roll the clip.
So we've been progressing on melee combat since the last update. We've now got obviously a lot more animations in game. We've got all of the light attacks in there and the heavy attacks, and you can actually combine them now to create combination attacks. So if you alternate between light and heavies, or the different sides, so left and then right, you actually perform combos. So originally you can start off with light attacks with just the mouse buttons, and then if you hold down the mouse buttons, you can then do heavy hooks. If you alternate different lights and heavies, it creates combination attacks, which gives you uppercuts, haymakers, and different types of attacks. They'll actually do more stun damage if you manage to land a combo attack. So stun damage is not necessarily directly to your health, it's almost like a stun or daze meter under the hood, so it's basically simulating how concussed that player is. So if you're just punching away and punching somebody, you might knock them unconscious. So they'll still take a little bit of damage, but they actually will be able to get up, back up, and they'll be okay. So that means you'll be able to have bar fights or fight in areas where you're not necessarily doing lethal damage. Obviously, if you've got fists equipped or you've got your gun equipped, if you trigger a melee attack, that will do a non-lethal takedown. So the non-lethal takedown kind of ties into what I was saying about the stun damage. It will basically knock them unconscious and then eventually they'll be revived at a later date. The other aspect is that we've got dodges in there, and dodges actually are more to do with for melee combat in terms of when they're utilizing a knife or a weapon. So obviously if you could still block a knife attack, so the block is actually a directional block, so where you're pointing the camera, you can actually block the different attacks, but you'll take damage. So the best way to deal with that is to actually dodge. So you'll be able to dodge right, left, or backwards, so to get out of the way and then go in and do your own damage. If you do a takedown with the knife will be a lethal takedown, and that will actually kill them outright. Melee combat and takedowns kind of go hand in hand, but the one thing that you would want to do in, say, a more stealthy part of the gameplay is that you'd want to be able to move that body if you're actually taking someone out and then another AI is patrolling or something like that. So that's actually another feature that we're going to be working on later in the quarter that we're going to start, which will be body dragging. Body dragging will actually allow you to go up to a body after you've done the takedown or whether you've knocked them unconscious, connect to that body, pick them up, and then drag them out of the way. That's something that we've only just really started on. We're only really in the inception phase at the moment of how we want to deliver it, how the controls are going to work, how it's going to work in game, what the ramifications are for adding body dragging. But that's something that we're starting to think about now. We're going to be working on it, like I said, towards the middle of this quarter. But I think once we get that in and all the other features that we've discussed, I think it'll be a really cool experience.
Well, I don't know how effective those moves would be against a werewolf or a vandal taxidermist, but they should be fine against feeble mortals like you. Offense intended. Igor, what's next?
Master, since the beginning of Star Citizen, developers have been maintaining a page so horrible, so terrifying, that no description can serve it justice.
What?
It is a place where most ridiculous and absurd bugs have been collected to serve as a grim warning to all those who come after.
Fish! What would we call such a thing, Igor?
The things we've seen!
The first thing that we have seen has to do with ships. Remember when my M50 broke down? You were there to help me.
Sure looks like you could have used a hand.
Moving along. And then, of course, there was that time when we landed the Starfighter on the planet, and, well, you can see what happened.
You forgot to lock the door, Master.
Yes, it's very good looking out, Igor. Good pro tip. Moving along to the body horror. This young man was born, perhaps, without a spine. I knew a man without a spine once. And then from the man with no spine to the man with too much spine.
Perhaps his performance should be graded under curve.
Right you are, Igor. Right you are. It's a good one. They call this one the snail. I don't have a joke. It's pretty much what it is. Yeah. Up next, you cannot have a Halloween episode without a haunted house. Ooh, Igor, what is this terrifying thing?
It's Tessa Bannister.
Is this what happened to Tessa?
Yes. You wanted to know.
You dated her for a while, yes?
A couple months.
It's early days. It's a getting to know you phase. You're feeling things out.
It was a relationship 2.0.
Relationship. Now, Igor, you are a video game developer. What is the worst thing an artist can ever see?
The blue screen of death.
No! An out-of-memory error! Oh, that's a little too close for comfort. Let's move much farther away and take a look at the sandworm from Citizen Con 2946, which got a little too big for its britches one time.
Master, it's a really big worm.
It's a very big worm. I bet it makes a very big poop.
Oh, Master, I have something that will scare the living poop out of your pants.
Show me!
Look.
Oh, is this what you were talking about, Igor?
No. This.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, yes. That's enough of that. Thank you, Igor. That was very nauseating. You can go. Go ahead. Go back to work. Finally, for the chilling cherry on top of a salacious Sunday. And because my Dark Masters tell me I need more real content, we go back to the actor feature team. Now, nobody wants the melee combat to be lacking in the life and the depth and the personality. Because anything lacking in life, depth, and personality could look like this.
What is this for?
Now, that is why we are adding force reactions to those at the wrong end of the melee combat. It's really cool. Check it out.
With force reactions, we're starting on a bit of a journey to improve how the player reacts to direct and indirect events around him. We wanted to add a layer on top of the pure physical reactions of the physical impulse, a kind of emotional layer, if you will. And the way we're doing it is we've split the body into 3 parts. You have your head, you have your main torso, and then you have your leg part separate. And for each of these, you have multiple directional animations that can be blended together. We can change the strength of them, how much they impact, and we can also change the direction almost at a 360 degree. For every different direction you could get hit, you will see a slightly different layering on top of the already physical reaction that is also direction independent. And for these, we've been able to use the mocap that was captured for AI hit reaction. So it's been really helpful. Push the prototype along a lot, and we're hoping to even be able to sneak some of it in the first melee drop. So that's the person part, and then obviously in first person you won't see so much of what's going on. So there, what we're adding is we're adding an aim punch, which is pushing your head, and your weapon will follow with your head. And we're adding a weapon punch, which will move your weapon away from your camera view. So you should really be able to tell, oh, you've been hit a lot, and kind of giving a little bit of a hint of the direction. But we're trying to keep it so that the weapon's always moving parallel, so you don't lose the sense of like, I can still shoot back at my target. I might not be doing perfect headshots, but I've been shooting in the direction of my target still. So there's none of this like, whoever shoots first wins, because the other guy is like aiming all over the place. So from here, we're going to be looking at more reactions. What happens if a grenade goes off right next to you? What happens if it goes off further away, but you're buffeted by the sort of pure force of it? What happens if you're inside a ship? Ship takes a big hit or collides with something. So just getting more and more of these reactions on the player that will tie him into what's happening around him in his environment.
And with that, we have come to the end of this week's sickening saga. And it's time to say goodbye to the EZ-Hab of Horror! Is my favorite part. Now, what did we learn this week? We learned that there are still 3 weeks left until CitizenCon, and everything is still a secret. So, for the EZ-Hab of Horror, I'm your host, Count Disco. And this is my werewolf. Hello, werewolf. Until the next time.